Have you noticed as you study the history of the church that almost every prophet seems to have a very clearly marked mission that's theirs? For Joseph Smith, he is the great restorer. For Brigham Young, it was the colonization of the West. Fast forward, you get to someone like a Lorenzo Snow, who had it crystal clear. Tithing is what the Lord wants me to talk about. The church needs to be able to escape its crushing debt. Fast forward, and you think of a Heber J. Grant, who was able to get the church through the Depression, and his business savvy and wisdom in those places. To see what David O. McKay did to help with education, to help the church become a global, worldwide organization. In more recent years, to think of Spencer W. Kimball's mission. He's the one that really started missionary work going more than it ever had before. Started really multiplying temples before President Hinckley and President Nelson broke every record. Revelation on priesthood to be able to extend those magnificent blessings to all. Fast forward a little closer in time, and when I say Ezra Taft Benson, the Book of Mormon automatically pops into our head. Such a clear mission he was given. To see a President Hunter emphasize Christ-like living, to see, and the temple, to see a President Hinckley help bring the church out of obscurity and out of darkness, to see a President Monson, not just as president of the church, but as bishop-in-chief, trying to help us go out in the rescue and lift people from ground level. And then to see President Nelson, I'm going to put it this way, not only with the multiplication of temples, that is a sub-mission of his overarching one. I don't think there has been a prophet in this dispensation who has emphasized the gathering of Israel more emphatically, more repeatedly, more clearly and compellingly than President Russell M. Nelson, with the possible exception of Joseph Smith himself. As the kingdom begins to roll forth, as the church is first organized, Joseph understood its mission from the start. The hen is clucking. We've got to come running, but we have to gather every other chick to the hen. This is our responsibility. And President Nelson, who has so powerfully helped us see the fact that the most important work you and I will ever be involved in is the gathering of Israel on both sides of the veil. Now do you see why he's multiplying temples all over the world? Those are mother hens reaching out their wings. Come gather right here for safety. Do you know what time it is? Second coming approaches. Once that becomes crystal clear, look at verse 7 of section 29. Ye are called to bring to pass the gathering of mine elect. For mine elect hear my voice and harden not their hearts. This is the chicks running to the mother hen. These are the sheep that hear the voice of the good shepherd and come running when he calls. What's the equivalent in our day? I guess we're not farmers and not shepherds anymore. But when we hear, do we come? Are we gathering to the sound of the Lord's loving voice? To see that right here at the start, 6 months old the church is, not even quite 6 months. And here from the very start, what are we called to do? Gather. Now, when he says gather mine elect, that's our job. And mine elect hear my voice and harden not their hearts. Does that mean we're only supposed to go for the people that are easily persuaded? Actually, they're probably fellow gatherers. Maybe they don't need your help. They're already hearing his voice. But to go out and convince those who might not appear elect that they really are, this is not, I'll put it this way. When you think of Calvinism with this very limited atonement, we'll talk more about that this week as well, that God has a very select few. This unconditional election based on nothing we've done. He just picked before we were born. I'm going to save some. I'll damn others, but these are mine elect. And mine elect hear my voice and they come when I call. We do not believe in that kind of unconditional election, nor do we believe in that kind of limited atonement. We believe in a Father who loves all of his children and has elected every single one to come home if they will simply elect him in return. If you will choose me as your God, I choose you as my people. The chosenness of the chosen people is simply that they've chosen God. But having chosen God and therefore been chosen by God, our next job is to choose everyone else to be chosen as well. And the moment we cease choosing others is the moment God ceases choosing us. We have to be a missionary church. We have to be a temple worshiping and attending church. We have to be a gathering people, or we're not true chicks of the mother hen. So what's our job? Do you remember we saw this back in section 27, that this dispensation is meant to gather? Remember we saw that in Ephesians chapter 1. The purpose of the final dispensation is to gather together in one all things in Christ. Gather together people, gather together texts, gather together experiences and perspectives. Gather my children home to me. That's our job. And when it's put in this way, mine elect hear my voice and harden not their hearts, what can I do to help people qualify under those descriptors? What can I do to introduce people to the voice of God so that they can recognize it when He calls? What can I do to help soften their hearts? And perhaps that's one of the reasons for the dreadful side of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. It does tend to humble us. And if we are sufficiently humble to soften our heart, then maybe our ears will be more attuned to God's message. Think back to 3 Nephi chapter 11. What has been happening prior to that coming of Christ? Destruction in chapter 8 and 9. Voice from heaven in chapter 10, hoping they'll hear and come running. What happens after that? Chapter 11, people have gathered to the land bountiful and its temple. And it's there that God begins to speak to them as they crane their necks and focus their ears to hear. Does it sound like what's going on here? Section 29 in some ways is the modern equivalent of 3 Nephi 8, 9, 10, 11 when Jesus comes. And it is a gathering of the elect who then go out and gather anyone else that wasn't part of the original gathering. People that missed chapter 11 came back for were there for chapter 19. 3 Nephi is a masterpiece. But we've got to go help soften hearts and open ears so people can come. You're more elect than you realize. One last verse on this. Look at verse 8. Wherefore the decree hath gone forth from the Father, that they shall be gathered in unto one place upon the face of this land, to prepare their hearts and be prepared in all things against the day when tribulation and desolation are sent forth upon the wicked. And I don't want anyone to be part of that group. I don't want there to be any wicked. And therefore, I don't want any tribulation or desolation to have to break those hearts. Let's see if we can soften them beforehand. To understand that concept, though, gathering them unto one place, what's that one place? Historically, it will soon be Kirtland, Ohio. Shortly thereafter, it will be Independence, Missouri. Shortly thereafter, it will be Nauvoo, Illinois. Sometime thereafter, it will be Salt Lake City, Utah. But thankfully, in our day, there is no one place for a global gathering. No one place could fit them all. Instead, what do we have? We have the one place multiplied across every place. It is Zion on the micro scale, but enough of them multiplied across the earth, and you're ready for a millennial reign. That one place is where the pure in heart have come to assemble. That is Zion in any stake of Zion that exists. That is the temple that is being built practically everywhere you can think of. Thank President Nelson for that. Why the multiplication of temples? Because of the emphasis on gathering home. President Nelson is clucking just like the mother hen. Will we listen and will we come running? Will we gather everyone else along the way to come to the one place where they can feel safe? That place is God's house, and we can help it feel like home to all of God's children.